Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. We're coming now to the end of our first two combat patrols, so let's round off the Space Marines with issue 20. So this brings us the Chaplain on bike, and there's not a lot I can say about the magazine. It is very low on the content. It is literally given over to the build guide, the paint guide, the data record, plus our battle. So there's not going to be a lot for us to go through in lore-wise. So that's why I'm breaking down this issue into 3 different videos. We're going to do the build guide, then the paint guide, and then we're going to have our game as usual, plus our naming ceremony for our Chaplain. So yeah, like I said, not a lot in the actual magazine to go through, and I just spoiled what's next. We know what's next, it's the past here. So yeah, let's get on and build. So this is the frame we get. Double frame with the components of the bike, his base detail, and of course the components of our Chaplain. Take a closer look at that under the camera. He also comes on a bit of a different base for a change. We have a 90mm over base, so different to most of our other Space Marines who have been on more circle bases. So yeah, it's a nice new unit to add to our Space Marine force. He's kind of a loner. He doesn't have a unit he can join, sadly. He can only really join the Outriders, which we don't get in this collection. Luckily I have some left over from Imperium, but we don't really have a data record in the collection and a way to add them. So you won't be able to use them at the moment. So before we hit the table then, don't forget to do all the usual. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment down below. Don't really have a question for you, but I do have a little bit of news. I'm going to be doing a roundup of the first 20 issues once we've got this video out of the way. So I can show off everything that we've had for the first 2 combat patrols, give you my points of view on the actual magazine so far, and a little bit maybe of hopes of what I think will come in future combat patrols. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget then, of course, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They have a great selection of new and used models for various different armies and game systems. They also stock paints and hobby supplies, as well as all your gaming tokens as well. They're also stockists of Combat Patrol, and they are now taking orders up to issue 38. So if you want to grab some of the early Chaos Space Marine stuff, go ahead and put some orders in. Luckily I don't need to. I actually have the entire Combat Patrol we're getting in a box already waiting to be used. I'm thinking that's going to be seeing some use once we get the Emperor's Children stuff. I'm probably going to use some leftover bits from the Emperor's Children frame onto the regular Chaos Space Marines we get in that box and make up an extra squad for my Emperor's Children army. So yeah, there's a link for Warbay in the comment section down below, and who knows, you might pick up your next hobby project at a bit of a discount. Right, let's head to the table and we'll get our tools out and build our Space Marine Chaplain on bike. Here we are then with issue 20, and it is our final Space Marine unit. Oops. So we have our 90mm oval base for our Chaplain to sit on. He's got a lovely nice scenic detail element. It's not really a tactical rock, it's more like a tactical bit of highway with spent bolter casings on. So yeah, really cool little piece of extra base detail. And then we got, of course, all our components. So the bike's made up of several different pieces. We've got the outer fairing of the chassis there. We've got the front wheel housing there. We've got the main chassis there. Exhausts. And of course all the tyres and wheels. And then we got the components that actually make up the Chaplain himself. He's Crozius Arcanum, front torso. He's left shoulder pad for his chapter symbol, the arm attached to the handlebars, bike to go on top the bike, book to go on top the bike even, his legs, main body, his backpack, and the front parts of his legs as well there. And of course we have a choice of heads. You can either have him focusing very well. We've got a bear head there, which I think is bearded. Yeah, there's a little bit of a beard there. Or else you got the classic skull helm there as well. So yeah, and his iron halo, of course, to finish off the model. So there we go. First off then, let's take a quick look through the build guide before we actually get into things. So then, into the magazine. Full of contents, we have our build guide, we have our paint guide, we have a collect article, we have a tactic on the Chaplain on bike, plus we have written down our latest scenario. So we have our build article. So we got the actual main body for the bike. So we got the little engine block piece that needs to go in. We've got the front mudguard for the front tyre itself, the second half of the mudguard, the rear tyre, and then we can glue the two halves of the bike together. This is a full multi-part kit, so you will need glue to assemble it, obviously. We then glue on the exhaust, the foot rests, the other side's exhaust, then we glue the torso, glue each of his legs in place, which are made up of 2 components each, glue the handlebars in place, and glue his head in. So it mentions here the paint guide for this model covers the helmeted version. If you build the model bareheaded, paint the head following the guide for the Terminator Captain. So yeah, very handy. Gluing on his Crozius as well as his iron halo, which glues into the back of his helmet. I kind of prefer if it glued onto the back of his backpack there. Then we glue on the chapter symbol shoulder pad, his backpack, the grip bars at the back of the bike, which has a little scroll tube attached. Then we glue on the outer fairings, as well as this little honor skull that he carries with him. Second outer fairing, the end of the handlebar, which is a skull with his Rosarius on. And then we got the book, which goes on top. And then finally, his base. We want to make sure we leave the 2 models in sub-assemblies for painting. As you can see here, we want to leave the base separate from the bike. So there we have it. Right then, let's bring in our model and we'll get to building our Chaplain on bike. So here we have our Chaplain on bike, and our first stage requires parts 1 and 2 and 3. So part 1 is this piece here. Then we have 3 over here. And finally 2, which is the engine block piece there. I'll clean those up and we can start gluing them together. There we go, that's our components cut out. So first off, we want to put a bit of glue just on the flat there. And then we got these little tiny triangles which will fit into the notches on here. So there we go. That fits in flush just like so. And then to the outside of this we can attach the front housing for the wheel. So just going into those notches there. So a couple of blobs of glue. Now make sure you put pressure on this side so don't overbalance, and Now, this is not working out as well as I thought it would. Let's do that first, then that. There we go. So we'll leave that to dry while we cut out the other components. So next we want 5, 4, and 6. So 4 is just here. 5 is here. And 6 is this piece here, the other half of the wheel housing. Right, I'll just get these cleaned up. Now we're on to gluing. So our first part to do is to glue the wheel hub into place. So a little bit of glue along there and on each of these supports. Now if we look on the underside, we can see we got the notches cut out for where they fit, so they only go in one way. We can bring this back in. It looks like it's nearly fully dry. So we want to put the glue on peg just there. And we can see it's again got a flat side, so it can only go in one way. And then we got the other half of this wheel housing. So run the glue around there and a little bit just on the inside of there. And then that can fit over the top into place like so. Leave that to dry while we'll cut out the rear wheel and the other half. So I don't know what we've got. Is it 2 4s? No, it should be 7 and 8. And then this part of the body, which is 9, I believe. Yes, I think the frame is 9, but they haven't actually numbered it there, which isn't helpful. So 9, this half of the body. Seven and 8. Shouldn't hopefully hit the camera with the frame now. Right, let's clean these up. Right. Again, we've got the ledges on the inside of the wheel. You notice this time we only have the one small one, just so you don't accidentally put the wrong component into the wrong tyre. So we want to put glue on there, and again we've got a little notch cut out there, so we can only fit it in one way. As you can see on this side, it's like a little Pac-Man. So there, it can only go in the one way. Now we want to bring in this side, and we want to apply glue to here, all over here, around the edges of all of the components that will eventually line up. And then we got little bowls there and little nubs just there to help us line everything up. I have to do this off camera as it's being a little bit of a... Nope, I think I got it. Nope, I ruined it. Be right back. So yeah, I had to do it off camera. What I ended up doing was taking the entire section off, pushing the wheel bit and the engine block hard. I put some fresh glue down, pushed that in, and then just rested the top parts of the tyre in place. It's on a funny angle, which is why it doesn't exactly want to sit in very well, but there we go. That's the main body of the bike done. So turning the page, we got final little details to do. So we've got the 2 exhausts, 10 and 11, and we got the pedals, part 12. So let's cut out 10 first, which is this side. We can cut out actually all of them, because we can easily tell which side belongs to which as the ends curve upwards. So 10, 11, and 12 just here. Right, let's get those cleaned up and we can start gluing them on. There we go. Now we can bring in the bike. So we want to glue on 10 first. So we've got this little ledge here and the socket just there. Then we glue those in like that. 12 needs to go in next. So we got this little curve section with a ledge in. And we want to put it on, got that bit going upwards, so it fits in. They should fit flush just like that. Make sure we push it in to get a strong bond. Around the other side, we got the other exhaust to put in, so a little bit of glue just in there and on that ledge. And then we can push in our exhausts like so. Next up, we're going to start building the actual Chaplain. So this is where I might be doing things differently. Because of how blocked off the chest is going to be, I'm thinking I might leave just this top part of the torso separate so that we can access all the details. We'll just attach it with a little bit of blue tack for the moment. But yeah, we'll cut it out and start gluing it together. So parts 13 and 14 first of all. So 14 is the front torso just here. 13 is his right arm and the rear torso just there. Be careful not to cut off the little peg, as that will help locate it and put it at the right angle to fit with the rest of the model. So I'll clean those components up. Okay. Next we want to run the glue around the outside of the body like so. And we got a little knob just on the bottom corner there, which goes into that little notch there. Help line everything up. And there we have the torso. So just to see where it will go, it'll go just there. I'm thinking I might have to be careful because the legs might help. Yeah, I think the legs will lock it into position, so I might not be able to. We'll assemble the first leg and we'll see how things go. So we'll leave it separate for the moment. So our first leg is parts 17 and 18. So 18 is this one just here. And 17 is this leg just here. Right, we'll get these cleaned up and glued together. So onto our leg, you'll run glue down the side of his shin and just on top of his knee there. Then we can glue our panelling. We've got a little notch and nub there to help it sit in the correct position. And then we need to sit that into position on the rider. And we'll see if we can we might be okay. So we'll glue that into position. Just a little bit of glue there and on his footrest. And there we have the left leg. Now the right leg, parts 16 and 15. So 15 is just here. And 16 is this piece here. The crux indomitus, as I call it. It's like a crux terminatus, but it's all for the indomitus crusade. So clean these up and get them glued together. So again, I'm going to run the glue and the knee and down the sides of the shin, a little bit just on top of the foot there as well. And slot this into place. Like so. And we want to glue this to the other side of the hips. So a little bit of glue just in there. And this foot will rest on the flat as it's kind of in a resting position. If you angle your bike just like that, we'll get the right position. And let's test the fit of the torso again, just to make sure it's fine. Yes, that slots in perfectly, meaning we can get all that detail when we get around to painting him. Right, section 5B then is going to be the arms. So part 19 there, his left arm and the handlebars. So I'll cut that out. I'm still nudging the camera. So that cut out, cleaned up. You see we got this little square / diamond shaped piece here. Just give the tank a bit of a trim and clean. There we go, that's better. And the handlebars will sit just on top of that. I'll put a bit of glue just on the top there and push that into place. To make sure it's lining up properly, we'll bring in our torso, push it into its position, and yeah, that arm lines up flush with the side of the torso. Perfect. So our next part, we can actually put the bike to one side as we are working on the torso. So we want part 20, the head, and 23 and 22, his iron halo and Crozier's arm. So there's part 23. So part 20 will go with the Paint Guide's head, the awesome skull helm, though I do quite like the bear head, nice grizzled veteran looking head. And then part 22 then, the iron halo, just like that. So let's clean these components up and we can get them assembled. So now we can start gluing it down. So we've got the head, which goes, we got a little gap there for a peg to go in. So we put a bit of glue in the bowl, and we can push the head into place. And on the back of the head, we got a little hole just there for the iron halo to go in. So we got this little notch, which you can just about make out there. And that will push into the back of the head. Like so. Finally, we got the shoulder pad and the gauntlet, plus his hand with the crozius to go on. We got a little nub and a couple of posts there, and we got holes on the arm. So just line everything up. And there we go. Push that together, and that will dry. So next up then, we want his backpack and his left shoulder pad. So 24 and 25. So 24 is this piece. And 25 is this piece. On this shoulder pad, we got a little notch just on the upper part there, so we'll put a little bit of glue there and there. And on here, we got a little placement post just there, so we can guide it into the correct position. Like so. And then the backpack gets glued into position. I think it shouldn't interfere too badly. So we'll glue that into place. Here we go. Yeah, we can easily get our brush in behind there to get those details. The rest will be hidden, so it shouldn't be too much noticeable. And there's our torso pretty much done. Final little bits on the bike then. So parts 27, he's sort of handlebar bits of the pillion, if you had a pillion, with a little scroll piece on, and then we got a little skull on the other side. So 28, the skull is just there. Have we missed the... No, we haven't done the end of the handlebar yet. That's the next page. And then, there it is. That piece just there. So I'll get these glued on. Then in a minute we'll need part 30, which is the first part of the outer chassis of the bike, the bodywork. So bring in the body of the bike, and we can see where this will connect. We've got two little flat pieces there, so we'll apply the glue to those, just there and there, and that will slide into position either side of the seat there. And the little skull hangs off that strap just there. I'll put that little bit of glue there and on there. So it sits sort of just like that off the end. So next up we want part 30, which is just there. There we go, that cleaned up. There we go. Now we need to line up where this attaches to. So we've got a bar there and a gap just there. So put a bit of glue just on there. And then a little bit of glue just on the inside there, where it will attach to the top half of there. Then we line it all up and push it into place. Just like so. Final few stages in, so we want parts 31 and 29, so the right side, and his little Crozius Rosarius detail there. There we go. Now be very careful with these, quite delicate pieces. And just like the other side, we got a little guiding notch there. And I'll put a bit of glue on the flat areas as well, where it'll attach to the rest of the bike. And I want to run a little bit of glue along the connecting areas just here, so that the top will meld together nicely. There we go. There we go, perfect place to sit our book. On the end of the handlebar then, we got a little notch just there to go into the hole on the back. It's got a little V cut out, so you can only go in one direction, which is very handy. There we go, leave those to dry. Next up then, we need the two halves of the book, 32 and 33, and while we're at it, we'll cut out this lovely big base detail, which is part 26. And the only part left on the frame is his head, so we'll cut, spare head, so we'll cut that off so we can throw away. And now, empty frame. So let's clean up those last components and we can get them all glued down to our model. There we go. So I'll put a bit of glue around the edging of the book here. And I'll push the two halves together. And then that will sit into that place there, with the chains all connecting up. Like so. make sure they all sit flush. There we go, that should be just about right. Next we want to take our base detail, run glue around the outside. And get it as central as possible. And we bring in our bike for a test fit. It'll fit in just like that. And there we have it. So we temporarily affix this into place. Temporarily attach him to his base. We have something hasn't lined up properly. Front wheel, there we go. Now the back wheel. There we have our Chaplain on bike, ready for battle. So I'll have to slap 3 coats of black on this guy, and I'll be back next issue for the paint guide. So there we go. It's a long one, but hopefully seeing it built will help you guys that struggle with these larger multi-part kits. But yeah, I hope you found it useful, and hope it's helped you build your own Chaplain on bike. So I will see you next time for the paint guide. So until then, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you on more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.